What a series so far between these two juggernauts. Stats and Dark, one game apiece at the end of two grueling matches. Here they are facing off for that spot in the grand finals. And we are just 2 games away. Either player can still be taking it. We are going to be going to Cactus Valley in map number 3. This is a moment that will define both of these players' careers as we go here into the top left-hand side of Cactus Valley. Our red Zerg player, it is Dark.
And his opponent, playing as the Blue Protoss, finally brought it back after a fantastic game. It is Stats! Now guys, PvZ very rarely goes into those split map situations so many times in a row. Like the 2 previous games felt a little bit like they're a once in a best of 5 thing, where like 2 games in a row you saw both players splitting the map, playing it a little bit slow, going to a lot of air units and stuff. Yeah. This matchup can be fast, it can be furious, and it very well could be here on this map, which is the map on which Dark earlier in the tournament went for a mass link speed with some drop up against Showtime and was very successful with it.
And I think this could be a very quick map, Todd, because we saw there Dark's hatchery was blocked. Stats happened to scout him in the first position. Dark has no idea which side Stats spawned on, so he's gone and accidentally taken the base towards Stats. Oh, very unfortunate for Dark. He's going to be really unhappy when his Overlord comes in and sees that his third base is just, it's a stone's throw away from the Protoss. This is really bad for Zerg. You need a lot of space to prepare when those pushes move out.
You can adjust. It's 1-1 right now. If he wants to take a chance, he can. If he wants to go into some sort of link speed, mass Zergling and drop like he did against Showtime, he could do that. He would be very risky, especially against somebody like Stats, who's just so good at scouting and adjusting. And he's making sure he stays a lot of extra time here right now in the main base of Dark to make sure he spots how much gas exactly is being mined and when those Zerglings are going to be on the way.
Dark here, he doesn't even blink once. He just takes the third base immediately. He is not afraid of any aggression. Of course, he's seen the relatively fast Nexus out of Stats. He knows that there isn't going to be any crazy rush coming out of the Protoss player just yet. So going to go ahead with a very economic opening, just looking to build that economy up as quickly as possible.
And Dark is still mining gas here. I'm really starting to wonder whether he might actually want to go for a lot of links. We're going to find out here momentarily. Stargate now going to start in the back of the main middle line here of Stats. Pretty well hidden. He's going to go forward with the Adept. And that one Adept is the one that's supposed to scout whether there is aggression coming, and the Roach Warren actually starts there.
That's a very quick Roach Warren. That is not a defensive Roach Warren. That's almost certainly aggressive. Great Spore Crawler trick there to save that drone from going down. The Adept comes in, takes out a Zergling, forces the Spore trick, and pulls out nice little bit of opening pressure from Stats.
Yeah, and actually there was not an additional Adept made.
Oh man, there's actually
just the 2 that he made in the start, and no third one queued yet. You want to keep on making Adepts and Mothership Core against aggression headed your way here.
Yeah, look at how many Overlords there are. Roaches are about to spill out for Dark. This is a fast attack. He's going to go pretty much all in with this. 4, 5, 6, no, 7 Roaches on the way for Dark. 8 Roaches, and it's going to be non-stop Speedlings behind that. He's looking to bust the front. That Oracle of Stats is going to be the first warning of this. He needs to spot it as soon as possible.
Stats getting a bunch of pylons on the right-hand side of his main base. He thinks he's being dropped. He's reading this wrong. It's going to be a full-on ground attack coming from the front gates. Luckily for him, he started Warp Gate very early, so it's close to finishing. That would be very helpful for him to hold this. The gateways are lining up very well with when Warp Gate is going to finish, but he might need to re-wall here behind his Adept with some buildings to prevent those Roaches from getting in, because if they do, it's going to be a disaster.
No Mothership Core out right now. He spotted this coming, but he doesn't really have any response. He does have one Void Ray on the way in that main base. The Roaches are spilling on in. Zerglings rallying behind it. That Void Ray is his only saving grace right now, but it's not out just yet.
Yeah, he needs to get it. He needs to get it right now. He's going to start on warping in units. Oracle still walking at the wall here. Overcharge not going to be used because the Pylon is dead before he can. And Stats needs to hold on. He's still got a good walker count here. If he can stay alive, not lose too many probes, he would be in a good position to win this game, but Dark is the one killing a ton of units with already 7 probes dead here.
This is non-stop aggression from Dark, but he needs to get more done. He's still down 10 workers trying to land corrosive bars on the Void Ray. It doesn't work. The Mothership Core with the overcharge on the wall, and even a Queen is coming, but it is desperate for Dark. Finally, he breaks on through. Those Zerglings get in. He needs more damage. He can't settle for this.
He needs to re-wall. Mothership's gonna have to fly towards the main here, otherwise the Queen's gonna get rid of it. So Oracle too low on energy to really be relevant. There are probes being pulled, but more of those are gonna die. We are now 23 drones against 29 probes. It's still okay for Stats if he's able to survive, but that second Nexus in immediate danger here.
Oh, the Adepts in the main base get surrounded. Both of those go down to the Zerglings. Void Ray not too strong at fighting against Zerglings on their own. And now that those Adepts have fallen, the Zerglings are running rampant in the drone line. The probes are falling apart. They get a nice surround. They do the best they can. But at the end of that, another 5 probes fall down. And Dark starts up drone production. He's going to transition.
Yeah, he needs to drone up very heavily here behind this. The fact that he sent the Queen forward actually and wasn't able to kill any of the air units is the big deal, because behind this, he didn't have any Queen for the longest time. Now he finally got one, he's about to get 2 more. But he wasn't able to inject for a very long time. So for him to actually get ahead on drones with the Overlord he just lost, it's not going to be possible for a long time. It's going to be only 32 drones against 29 probes. And Stats is going to be chrono boosting out more and more of these probes. Probably looking to try and go into a third, maybe do some one of his own adept attack here eventually as well, because he already has 3 gateways.
Stats has got a lot of important tech units out right now. Multiple Oracles hitting the field, a couple of Sentries gathering energy, and that Void Ray guarding him from any sort of follow-up attack. Stats right now, with the utility these air units give him, is set to potentially pull ahead here in the mid-game, already up 6 workers. And now a Void Ray coming across the map, starting to snipe down Overlords. This is a nightmare situation for Dark. He most definitely did not get enough damage done.
Yeah, he's going to supply block him once again there. This is not what you want here as Dark. You want to be able to drone up as much as you can before you have to start on making units. He might actually get the Roach run because the Oracles are chasing the Queen under the Spore, and they get her, even though he gets one of the Oracles here, those Dark. There is no transfuse available, and that Void Ray is going to town on this Roach run, which, when he actually made that, I thought that it was a good location because he would be very well hidden and almost unscoutable, but it turns out this is actually under threat and might die eventually here in this game.
Stats really finding his footing in this game number 3, moving out to secure that 3rd base. He's got the Adept Glaives upgrade on the way behind this. He's looking very comfortable.
He's getting 3 more gates big. If he kills that Roach Run and no more Roaches can be made and makes enough Adepts, it's just going to be against pure Links and no Banelings. It would be an ideal scenario, but somehow the Void Ray is just going to fly back instead of killing that free Roach Run he could have had.
The Oracle's still dancing around, looking for some scouting in the back of the main base. Gonna see if it can find any openings there, but his Void Ray spots the push coming. It is wave 2 of this all-in attack. Ravages, Zerglings, and Queens rushing across the map. A lot of Stats army trapped out here at his 3rd base.
Yeah.
I think he needs to recall.
And cancel that 3rd base. Yeah, it's a great choice here. I think if he had overcharged and tried to fight, he would have lost everything. Right now, this is the next wave here of this all-in by Dark. 35 drones to 44 probes. He needs to make something happen one more time. Cybernetics core is going to have to be replaced immediately. And with these pylons here, Stats should be fine, but a couple corrosive by too many, and you could be in big trouble very quickly here as Stats.
Look at that sentry count. So many force fields ready to defend this choke point. Dark, he realizes he can't force his way in, but he goes a little bit too deep. 2 Ravagers get snapped in half. Great defense by Stats.
And in the meantime, Evolution Chamber started a stasis trap actually triggered in his main base here of Dark, trapping a lot of these drones that are not mining.
That's actually a massive amount of lost mining time in the back behind this. But now, Dark doing a fantastic job of keeping up the contain. The problem is, look at that Adept count. There's no way that he can stop him from breaking out now. Stats is going to go for it. Sentries, Void Rays, and Adepts jump on top of Dark's army. He's just going to engage it front on. Great corrosive biles land, taking down the Void Ray. And the Ravagers doing a decent job, but those Adepts are just too meaty. They break out, and Stats is held on.
just so solid defensively. He's gonna go for the counter-attack big, and I don't know if there's gonna be enough for Dark to be able to hold on against this massive amount of adepts. There is an Oracle as well, and Sentries to really help with this. And Dark in a world of trouble here in this game. He's gonna try to evacuate the third base.
So many adepts, they're just gonna shade right on top of the Zerg force. Drones being forced to engage. The Sentry's a little bit far behind, but I think there might just be too many adepts here. The Queens valiantly do fight off the Oracles, but the adepts are here. The Guardian Shield comes in. Stalker's joining the fray, and I think Stats has done it. GG takes game number 3 and the 2-1 lead versus Dark. That's a very important victory for him here. Now only 1 game away from that grand finals. He wants to make it up there. He wants to be facing off against TY in that grand finals for that $100,000, for that world championship IEM title.
We warned you guys, don't blink on Cactus Valley, because we could be seeing some aggression. And what attacks here by Dark, committing everything he had to that first Roach and League attack, and then realizing he had killed enough probes, droning up a little bit behind this and going for wave number 2. Stats is just too little, too solid. I was really worried that he might take the fight on the third base when that was coming, but he's just so insanely good. For him, there was not a single doubt. He should just recall out of there, be patient. So many Protosses would have overextended, try to fight from multiple sides with Sentries, which is not what you should do against this many Ravagers. And Stats made the second defense look absolutely easy. In the first one, I was actually worried, but the second one, once he recalled and went for those force fields, I was like, okay, well, Dark is in a lot of trouble. And Stats, right now, he's got the momentum here in this series.
I feel like whenever Stats sees what his opponent's up to, he always makes the right decision. And that game, those Oracles saw everything. He spotted the Roachling attack coming. He already had a Void Ray on the way. The follow-up attack he spotted nice and early, and his responses are always perfect. The pressure's on now for the Zerg player to try and bring it back. Launching into game number 4 on Abyssal Reef. Spawning down here in the bottom right-hand side, our red Zerg player, it is Dark!
His opponents in the north. It is the best Protoss in the world. It is Stats!
What a match between these two players. Such slow late games in game 1 and 2. But that third map there, a quick and brutal game. Dark's aggressive strategy not quite working out for him.
Going for a quick Nexus there. Can be a little bit risky, but gonna be able to get away with it quite easily as Dark opens with a hatchery first. Lots of mind games. Just from the starting build orders.
Yeah.
Tell there.
I mean, we saw, what, like 9 Pylon Scout 3 games in a row from Stats. So to follow up now and say, look, I've been scouting really early every game. You'd be a madman to do some sort of aggressive 12 pull. I can get away with the Nexus first now. So really just using the fact that he's already ahead from playing very safe, and now he can afford to take some risks, get himself ahead right from the get-go, and give himself a kickstart in that economy.
Yeah, Stats being up 2-1 as well, it gives him some leeway to try and do something a little bit different if he wants to. If he wants to take a risk, open for something that Dark wouldn't expect, that would be high risk, high reward, he could do that. Dark is the one on the verge here of finishing in the top 4. He's the one who I think has to play solid, but we've seen in the highest pressure matches in the past, players taking risks when we didn't really expect them to at times.
When there's a shark flying overhead, you got to take a couple of risks here or there. It really is, though, one of the most powerful things you can do as a StarCraft player. Take some gambles, take some risks. Don't pull back into yourself and play afraid. If you're the one who's confident, you're out there, you're the one who's willing to do some of those crazy things, it puts fear into your opponent. It really forces them to play such a solid game, or else you're just going to pull a sneaky one past them, get some cheeky wins, some cheeky map scores up there.
That shark is not scary, by the way. Burrowed roaches are way scarier when they're unburrowed. And a Stargate the back of his main mineral line here going to be the choice for Stats. He's also going to try and hide that as much as he can. Stalker about to come out. Let's see if that Ling can squeeze past that Zealot. If Dark is able to see that as it starts, that would be a good, nice first little win there.
That's really good, yeah. Sees the Stargate. Wonder if he's going to keep his Overlord speed upgrade or maybe cancel that since he saw the tech. Looks like he is going to hang on to that. So Dark really wanting to get the follow-up scout. This is just so typical of Dark. He's such a strong macro player. He loves playing the mid game, the late game, and almost any matchup he goes into, he is confident. He thinks he is the best Zerg in the world. He knows it deep in his heart. He thinks if he can see everything his opponent's doing, he should not lose. So he's going to invest in that early Overlord speed, and he's going to scout everything that Stats is up to.
Evolution Chamber going down now, most likely going to be for the +1 melee and melee attack upgrades that Dark likes to go into. This is Baneling heavy style. Really one of these Zergs to truly master that style and show the world how this is meant to be played. And all alike, Stats going for the Twilight Council after adding on 2 additional gateways. He's just going to be resonating glaives, I assume, for a lot of adepts, and eventually going to a 3rd base.
Interestingly, I do remember a very fast Twilight coming down with that big adept attack he did against Nurture, but I think the timings were probably a little bit different with that, yeah. With the fast gases, he probably will just play a more macro-focused style. But Dark, well prepared for the first Oracle there.
Yeah, he's got a Quince actually attacking that before it can even do any damage. He's going to have to get out of there. He has Stats. That was a little bit uncharacteristic that he wasn't paying attention to that. But with the +1 melee on the way, we now have the Baning Nest being added on. Dark wants to be ready for a big wave of adepts if it were to come. The standard Void Ray is underway after the 2nd Oracle. You need that guy to clear out the Overlords around your base, whether or not there is Pneumatized Carapace. It's always going to do a very good job, and then eventually threaten. Also in the fight, like the Zerg has to be mindful of that, get some sort of anti-air. And if, like in the previous game, we see a big attack coming from Zerg, and they only have Ravagers and Banelings, you can just dodge Corrosive Bile, and it's going to be a Void Ray that helps a lot against that too.
There is one drop Overlord morphing out on the map. Actually, no, back at home. So looks like Dark does want to go for a Baneling drop. He's going to try and sneak this all the way across the map, hopefully without it being spotted. Lots and lots of Zerglings in the production tab here.
Oh, he's loading up the Queens. He's loading up 3 Queens in it.
Oh, wow, okay. I know exactly what he's going. This is the huge Ling Bane Queen. Almost, it's not really an all-in, but it's a huge attack. It needs to do damage. And the goal here for Dark is to knock down that 3rd base. He doesn't have a layer behind this. He's only got +1 melee, and it's just non-stop Ling Bane. So far, Stats has no idea this is coming.
It's 3 Queens. There is a 3rd Oracle on the way. And Void Rays.
Oh,
that was Void Ray as well to attack the Queens.
Stats is all the way across the map right now. All of his adepts have moved out. They're going to hit the 3rd base, but Dark, there's going to be nothing at home to defend Dark's attack. His Queens are going to overwhelm this Void Ray almost instantly. Good force fields here, deflecting the Banelings. A heroic defense to start things out, but the Void Ray does fall. The adepts shading in, doing massive damage. I don't know if Dark is going to be able to defend at home. He should be able to overwhelm this 3rd. That Stats cleverly pulls into his natural. He's going to give up the 3rd, and it's all about his adepts ripping apart the economy on Dark's side of the map.
Yeah, Stats needed to evacuate that base earlier. Now the Banelings are going to press forward on that wall to the natural. Sentries are ready. Let's see if Dark just pulls back so far. It looks like he might just want to do that. The adepts wrecking the mineral lines here right now of Dark. Wow. They've lost about the same amount of workers.
The 3rd base did go down for Stats. Dark was so good with running his drones away, but these 2 adepts, there's nothing left to kill them. The drone count, oh no, so many more drones went down right when I thought Dark had held on. Dark loses another 4 workers at the end of that.
The Oracles on the left, they're gonna get chased by Queens. That Spore on the 3rd base of Dark is actually so low. If Stats was to fly there and take it out, he might be able to kill a ton of drones, which would be a disaster, but he might have to focus on the Banelings first, because these are also guys that he needs to worry about. We'll see what he chooses to do there with the Oracles. And those Queens, they're in a very awkward position on the map. They're actually gonna be in a hot pickup of an Overlord here that's gonna come and help with that. And Stats, it looks like he's...
Oh, he's going to focus down a few Banelings over here. Stats with a cheeky pickup. Nice there. Does get a bit of free damage. He spots the drone count here on the 3rd of Dark as well, and he realizes Dark's economy is pretty minuscule right now. However, because there was no third from Stats, Dark is very worried about the counterattack. He's building spines, he's building a Roach Warren. He needs to hang on against the next big Adept wave.
I think Dark is in big trouble actually in this game because he hasn't started Lair yet. I feel like I'm watching one game of True there. He has no tech at all. He's on Lair, Hatchery tech, Zergling, Baneling, Roaches, Ravagers, Quints.
And he doesn't have any Ravagers just yet. His Roach is only just popping. There's a lot of force fields. He does have a Baneling drop that he just loaded up around here. I think he sees the attack coming in. He's going to need to drop the Banelings on top of those sentries. He might flank from the left. If he can come from the high ground, he might be able to surprise Stats.
And Stats going to be counter-attacked here on that third base, and it might be a cancel if Dark actually properly targets. No, he's just going to get out of there.
Yeah, looks like he's just going to go for the sure thing, take out the Warpins. And those Zerglings will get cleaned up. Meanwhile,
Adept across the map were dropped and almost got blown up. He picked them up at the last second.
Baneling drop spotted in the main base, gets deflected. Stats is all over the place. He's defending everything so perfectly right now. Stats has got a third base up behind this. He's starting to make Archons the perfect unit in this situation, continuing to do damage, and his supply just continues to climb. Meanwhile, Dark, he is down in the dumps. He's struggling just to hang on to his 3 bases. I think Stats is pushing his way closer and closer to winning this series.
Yeah, Dark keeps on falling further and further behind that one Adept drop across the map, keeps on sniping drones all over the place. Lair now halfway through done, but with Archons against Zergling and Banelings, mostly with just a couple of Roaches and Ravagers, Stats is in a fantastic position to close things out. He's gonna take some incredible Baneling bombs, I think, for Dark to come back in this game.
So many Archons up front, the Warp Prism warping in units. There's even a Stasis Trap to fall back on. It's all about those Dropper Lords. He needs to get on top of those sentries, so there are just way too many units for Stats. The Queen's dropping transfuses. They've got to keep that Spine Crawler alive. The Overlord drop still hasn't come in.
It's a single one as well, but he would do so much damage if he was to bring it to blow up these sentries there. I think Dark just forgot about it.
The Spine Crawler in the bottom right doing a massive job. Its transfusers have run out, though it's finally going to go down. The Banelings make their way in. They clear out a lot of Adepts, but there's just so much Protoss left over. The Archons finally falling. Drones being forced into the battle. The Ravagers trying desperately to hang on, Todd.
Look at the supply peak as it is rapidly plummeting for Dark. He finally evens up for a little bit here, but he's losing a ton of drones and he's still forgetting about that one Overlord just right above this, filled with 4 Banelings. That would have helped so much. That may have been the game-changing thing here in this game.
But right now, Stats is relentless. He's pushing his way forward. Finally, a few Banelings land some nice hits, but 14 workers have already gone down. Stats wants to go to the finals. He wants to push Dark out of this game. He keeps on warping in more and more Adepts right now. Stats wants to take this hatchery down. If he can get the hatchery, it's all but over for Dark. Dark needs to hang on to this.
I cannot believe that Dark forgot about that Overlord with 4 Banelings inside just right above this fight here. This would have helped tremendously. He's still trying to hold on, and Stats, he's lost a lot there, but he's trying to salvage the situation, pick up some of his units, re-warping new ones, and in the meantime at home, he's mining way more than Dark is.
Stats here, just microing this Immortal, keeping it alive forever. It has 21 kills. This Immortal finally falls, but there's more and more Adepts warping in. The Archon's still dealing damage. Stats just getting so much out of this. And the hatchery, watch the hatchery, it's about to fall. It goes down. Stats cuts off Dark's economy, and Dark is in big, big trouble.
Dark retook another base just on the left-hand side of this in the meantime, but having lost everything that he lost there, he's still in so much trouble. Clear reconstitution on the way at the 12th minute. Not your typical PvZ there, definitely a lot of things happening in this game, but Stats just so comfortable taking a 4th base and pressing forward with his 2 Oracles, which are basically immortal in this game.
Dark rebuilding his 3rd base while Stats taking a 4th, building Archons and Immortals. The tech is in Stats' favor. The army composition is in his favor, and he has more economy. He is ahead in every regard. Dark needs to make magic happen right now. He needs to find a way to turn this game around, but it is looking bleak right now.
He's winning the game with just 2 Oracles right now. Just going forward, there is not that much anti-air. You can very easily dodge corrosive bile. He's gonna force an evacuation on that 3rd base of Dark, who must be trying to deal with the fact that he may have lost here in this game, there is not much that he can hope for other than maybe, I don't know, what he would take here, really, like a triple Baneling bomb on top of the entire Protoss army, and Stats not looking.
That's the start right there for Dark's turnaround. I don't know, it does something. It takes away a little bit of the pressure. But look at those two Oracles. They've been getting so much value. I mean, how many kills are on either of those? I would love to see that. We've got 17 on one, 14 on the other. These Oracles have been alive since the start of this game. They have seen so many battles, and they've lived to tell the tale. They're going to keep on coming in time and again. Even more drones falling there.
Stats gonna march forward with his massive army here, 71 army supply to 52. He's calling out TY's name right now. He's saying, hey, my ex-teammate, I heard you wanted to play against me. Let's meet in the grand finals and see how well you can do, because I'm pretty good in PvT, and Dark is just gonna be a formality supposedly from there. As long as Stats doesn't overextend, takes the fight properly, he should have this game in the bag.
He's rebuilt his War Prism. His composition looking better and better. More and more Archons and Immortals are joining the fray. Charge and +2 on the way as well. There's no rush for Stats to finish this, but I think he senses weakness. He sees how many Ravagers there are, and it's only a matter of time until he decides to push the finishing blow in. That Storm on the way as well is going to give him so much flexibility as this game goes on.
Stats is taking his time. I can't blame him for it. This is a very important game there. If you overextend against this many Ravagers and Corrosive Bile lands on top of your entire army, you're going to be in trouble. So he just pushes back Creep, makes sure he doesn't take a horrible engagement, and by adding Storm, he's going to have so much potential to clear out this entire Zerg army instantly. Even though we see Centrifugal Hooks, again, pushing back the Creep is going to make that even worse, as those Zerg units will be slower off Creep. And you want to aim to try and fight at the edge of it.
Stats here showing his class throughout this series. He might have dropped the first map, but in the second map, he turned it around. At the same time, he's even counter-attacking in the natural. He just keeps on doing these small, non-committal moves. He never just goes for the throat, YOLO, kind of just throwing his army, and he always pokes from the side, here and there. And as Tasteless would say, it is always death by 1,000 cuts when you're playing against Stats. He just finds these little pieces of damage to eke out an advantage while building up his economy at home, while increasing his tech. And he has done a masterclass on that here this game. Adepts coming back into the main base, just pulling Dark every which way.
Tasteless does always say that, that's why it's only because he does say that.
It's his top 3 favorite sayings. But, oh man. Oh, Adepts coming in. They're not going to find too much there.
A big whopping in the main would be nice, and that's what he's going to go for, to try and bring some of the army of Dark out of position while he attacks onto that extra base here on the right-hand side.
Storms are good to start it up here. Stats wants to go through. Charge Lord's pushing in. Dark knows he's done. Stats upsets, takes out Dark. 3 wins to 1. A rough game 1, but he shows his class. He just controls that game so well, defending everything Dark was throwing at him. Always knowing when to sacrifice a base, always knowing when to give up something to gain an advantage somewhere else. This is a true master of StarCraft, and he will be going on to face TY in the grand finals. An impressive performance from Stats.
After a very uncharacteristic mistake in game number 1, solid throughout with a very good 3-1 victory. So impressive.
We are going to hear from the man himself on stage with Smix.
Thank you very much, Pig. Stats, congratulations. This is your first time making the grand finals in 2017, but to do so after beating such a tough opponent in Ryung, that must feel even more satisfying for you. 일단 김대엽 선수 너무 축하드리고요. 이제 2017년에 첫 결승 진출인데 박용윤 선수처럼 엄청 잘하는 선수를 이기고 진출하니 기분이 더욱더 좋을 것 같아요.
네, 막상 게임을 해보니까 령호가 너무 잘해가지고 진짜 4강에서 이거 진짜 떨어질 수도 있겠구나 이런 생각을 가지고 정말 집중해서 열심히 했는데 매 게임이 다 고비였던 것 같고 힘든 승부였던 만큼 올라가니 기쁨이 더 2배는 더 기쁜 것 같아요.
So he says, as I played the semifinals against Dark, I could just feel how well Dark was playing. He made it so difficult for me. I even thought to myself, I might actually just lose in the semifinal. But as hard as every game was, moving on and advancing over such a tough opponent where I actually thought that I might be able to lose, I feel doubly happy to be able to move on to the grand finals. Now, there were so many great games to talk about, but I need to talk about that second map because it was such a long and intense game, especially after Dark did the link drop in your main and wiped out your entire base. How are you able to come back and win? 이제 두 번째 경기에 대해서 물어보고 싶은데 정말 힘들고 긴 경기였어요. 이제 박용우 선수가 본진에 링 드랍하고 본진이 날아갔을 때 거기서 어떻게 이길 수 있었나요?
그렇게 해서 제 우주 관문 테크가 다 무너졌을 때 이거는 졌구나 라는 생각을 가지고 그래도 끝까지 포기하지 말고 끝까지 한번 해보자라는 생각으로 했었는데 다행히 약간 그런 저의 진념이 오늘 두 번째 경기를 승리로 이끈 게 아닌가 생각이 들어요.
So he says, yeah, when he dropped in my base and his links just wiped out my entire base, including all my Stargates, I thought to myself, okay, I definitely lost this game. But that being said, I said to myself, let's just try really hard. I grit my teeth and tried my best, and I think it's that stubbornness, my willingness to keep fighting that really was the deciding factor that brought me to a win over Dark in this series. And of course, you have one more match to go if you want to become an Intel Extreme Masters champion. You have your former teammate TY, who, when you've played against him in the past, it's been very even. You're 6-5 against him. So how do you feel about that? 이제 다음 결승에서 만날 선수는 전태양 선수 같이 같은 팀원이었는데 이제 옛날에 만났을 때 6승 5패예요. 그래서 좀 주고 받았는데 어떠세요?
정말 8강부터 시작해서 매 게임이 쉬운 경기가 없네요. 팀메이트인 태양 선수 태양이를 결승에서 또 만나니까 또 기분이 묘하고요, 굉장히. 그래도 한편으로는 또 되게 기뻐요. 이렇게 같은 팀메이트끼리 이렇게 결승에서 만났다는 것 자체가 그만큼 잘하고 있다는 뜻이니까 한편으로는 기쁘고 재밌는 게임 하고 싶어요.
So he says, my first thought is, wow, I feel like every single match since the quarterfinals has been so difficult for me. That being said, my first thought in facing TY is it feels a little bit weird as he was a former teammate. But that being said, on the flip side, I also feel very, very happy because he is and was my former teammate. And it just goes to show that we're both doing so, so well. So in that regard, I hope that we can be showing a really great grand final series. So congratulations again, Stats. Looking forward to that grand finals match. And with that, it'll be Stats moving on to play TY in the grand finals.
That's right, Stats makes his way onto the grand final here to join TY in what is sure to be an amazing final. But overall, look at how Stats was able to thrive there, man. It feels like even in the most volatile of situations, he's able to thrive on this stage.
It was really interesting going into game 3 after game number 2. We did see that Dark did not seem to want to play a long game. I think after that, he was kind of done with it. So him trying to go for some of that more aggressive style. Stats is ready. Yep. Stats stayed back, let him come to him, and deflected everything that Dark threw at him and came through it. In game 3, it was not exactly the same story, but Stats did that push. And we noticed he backed off for a little bit. He played it safe, masked up, expanded more.
Yep.
He's a very, very conservative player sometimes when he has to be.
I loved it. I mean, I do agree with Tasteless. After those first 2 games, it seemed like Dark had enough of trying to go up against carriers. He's like, let's not do that again.
Yeah.
Let's be a little more aggressive. The build, it doesn't shape up incredibly well against Stargate openings because Oracle's obviously good against Lynx, Void Ray's good against Roaches. But there was one point when he broke down that pylon and all those Lynx started streaming in. I was like, maybe he can do enough here. And I think against most Protoss players, he would do enough to justify all those units he made. But Stats is so good in running his probes around, knowing when he can mine, knowing when he has to fight, or knowing when he just run. He just runs circles, waits for the warp ins, and he just doesn't lose enough. Also, great call immediately, like canceling his third base, recalling those sentries out.
Yeah.
He does that in a split second. But these are very critical calls, because if he doesn't do that later on, he could lose against the follow-up push. And even in that final game, you know, it's a really cool build. build that we saw Dark use at the global playoffs as well, where he transports the queens across the map, drops the queens, he picks up the Banelings, and he wants to drop the Banes on the sentries, and Stas looks at it and he's like, immediately focus fires it down with the Void Ray, and it just kind of ruins the build, and he's counter-attacking during all of this. I mean, Stats is playing just an awesome style of Protoss. There's no other way to put it.
Yes, he is. Very aggressive towards some of the later stages of that game as well. We saw almost the hold of the sentry from Dark towards that location where he was trying to fend off the Immortal Archon Warp Prism attack over towards that hatchery. He wasn't able to make it happen, but it's a testament to how well Stats was playing on the other side, considering how close Dark came to being able to hold that hatchery.
Yeah, there were points in time where me and Roddy were saying, this is crazy. He might actually end up holding this off.
Yeah.
He truly is a Zerg player that can bend the physics of the game, if you will, to his will. It's really impressive. Again, though, you know, it's the fact that Stats, he never attacks, it seems like, unless he knows he's going to do enough damage. It's a little bit different from Beyond, where it seems like he's attacking him in places where you wouldn't ever advise anybody to attack, but he just controls it so well he wins. You can see Stats a really conservative player. It's kind of unfortunate to see Dark go out that way in those last two games, but I think we have to respect his choice for trying those strats and those styles, since game 2 looked like it proved that there was no way to beat Stats in a really long game.
Yeah, actually kind of in Cactus Valley and on Abysso, after the initial rush doesn't do enough, the game is kind of supposed to be over. The moment that Protoss has more units than a Zerg that has no tech, you're like, all right, wrap it up. But he played his heart out, man. He did such a good job in hanging in there. And we're like, okay, you know, you're doing good, but it doesn't matter. You're dead, you're dead. And on a certain point, it was like, he's actually picking off a lot of these Archons and Immortals, and this is really not supposed to happen. It's honestly not that Dark was playing bad. It's just that Stats is playing incredibly good and just didn't make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, and that means now he moves on through into our grand final. So a big congratulations, obviously, to Stats for doing so. A little bit of a commiserations for Dark. Obviously, he played a blinder of a tournament overall. No doubt we're going to be seeing him
as Zerg, as always.
Echelons. Yeah, exactly. Very, very impressive stuff. So I think without further ado, we can actually now go to a break. And when we are back, more action as the grand final to crown our champion here for the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice.